Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they've pledged you a lifelong commitment. The Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Commitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And this week we watched episodes 16 through 20 of the first season of The Muppet Show. And again, we are watching them in New York release order. So this covers the dates from January 31st, 1977 through February 28th, 1977, which means we are discussing the episodes featuring Vincent Price, Twiggy, Phyllis Diller, Ethel Merman, and Connie Stevens.
I have a question for you.
Go for it.
If we ever become enemies, are you going to change what you say at the beginning of the episode?
Oh, so I'll say like, welcome to Commitment, the podcast where two people have vowed to watch all things Muppets.
Or two enemies. Or would we still pretend to be friends? Would we be
We're
fake?
two bitter rivals have vowed to watch all things Muppets.
Because we have years left and you never know. Like, we're coworkers. We could have a work fight. You never know what's going to happen.
Well, see, I feel like the thing that happens with online media creators who start to not like each other, and even like if you look back at the history of bands and stuff, is they always lean even harder into like, oh no, we're really friends before the thing dissolves and explodes.
Okay. So if you ever say, we're two very best friends, the best friends in the whole world. Watch. Yeah, okay.
The podcast where the two best friends that have ever existed have vowed to watch all things Muppets.
Yeah.
It'd be like, whoa, maybe
And at
compensating a little bit.
At the end of every episode, we say, I love you too. That's when you know that we're in trouble.
Before we get too far along, I got a couple quick things we need to talk about here, Sam. One, I found a cute Muppet thing this week that I didn't know really existed that I want to tell people about.
Mm-hmm.
They're called Muppet Moments on Disney+. I think these things came out as like online like YouTube videos or something like that at one point. But there's like 40 of these things, and they're super short, and they're really cute, and they're basically exactly like those very good like improv moments you'd get from Kermit and Grover on Sesame Street, where they're just interacting with a kid who is like not scripted and has a cute little fun moment. And they're very good. And I had never seen or heard of them before. And there's like 40 of them, so you can just put them on and have a really good afternoon.
I guess we'll have to check them out eventually, right?
Eventually we will get there, but that's quite a ways away. And before we get to talking about the Muppet Show today, we need to discuss next week's episode, because next week we are going to be recording the day before my birthday, and that episode will then be released the week of Sam's birthday.
Oh, birthday twins.
Birthday almost not really twins.
Well, pretty close.
Close enough that we can do a birthday episode.
Yay.
So we figured it'd be a good idea to do a birthday celebration episode, and what that means is that we'll be watching some non-Muppet but sort of Muppet-adjacent media, and discussing that instead. So it'll be a weird one, where again, like Muppets will barely be mentioned probably, but we'll also be exchanging some gifts that we got for each other, and we'll also be answering some questions that you've either tweeted or emailed at us. So Sam, now is the time to reveal, what non-Muppet media have you brought to our birthday celebration episode for next week?
I'm sick of all these nice, sweet Muppets. I don't want to see that shit anymore. So what I picked was Puppet Master 3, Toulon's Revenge, the horror movie featuring puppets that murder people.
Well, I'd be confused because I've never seen Puppet Master 1 or 2.
Well, so I looked at the old content advisories on Puppet Master 1. I went through the Puppet Masters until I found one that didn't feature a lot of sexual violence. And also, this is supposed to be the greatest of the Puppet Masters. So There we go. It's also a prequel, so maybe you don't need to know anything.
This is maybe where I should start.
I think they kill Nazis in this one instead of innocent people as well. So
all right.
It might be a fun time. Yeah. Not really Muppet adjacent. I could find somehow. I bet somebody who worked on it worked on Muppets. I'm on it. What's yours?
So mine is slightly more Muppet adjacent, but also contains no puppets. And it is the 1991 feature film, What About Bob?
Oh, is that a Frank Oz joint?
It is directed by Frank Oz and stars Fran Brill.
What the hell? Really?
Yeah, Fran Brill is there in person, not a puppet, playing the sister of Richard Dreyfuss's character, Dr. Leo Marvin.
Oh, cool. I've never seen this, but I've always seen the cover at video stores and thought, I think I like this movie.
I watched this movie a lot as a kid, so...
It's not a kid's movie, really, is it?
No, but it's in that same, 90s comedy vein where it's just
everything was kind of a kid's movie and everything was kind of an adult movie at the same time.
Yes, and it was also that era where our parents just let us watch any comedy without questioning if the content was actually okay for us to watch.
Wow.
Yeah, so we got Puppet Master 3, and What About Bob?
What this episode really is movies I saw as a child in Blockbuster and really wanted to watch and never have. So I'm really excited.
All right, so obviously next week will be a little bit different, but this week, same old Muppet Show.
Boring. They don't kill anybody. Well, actually, that's not true at all. They kill a lot of people.
Sam, go ahead. Tell us what we're talking about.
January 31st, 1977. The perfect date for a spooky Halloween episode, right? Well, if you're whoever ran the Vincent Price episode of The Muppet Show on that date in New York, it must have been. So the backstage plot on this one revolves around a three-headed monster trying to audition to get on the show. They never actually get to perform on the show, which is sad for them, I guess. Vincent Price is also there, and there are a few more ghosts than usual. The audience is all monsters. It's pretty normal otherwise, but it's a little tiny bit more creepy. Totally subjective highlights for this include the first sketch in which Behemoth eats a little guy who's apparently named Shaky Sanchez and tries to keep him inside of his mouth and also from popping through his skin while singing the song Under My Skin, and a legitimately kind of unsettling Muppet news flash in which a man's house hunts him down and eats him. All the furniture in his house comes to life, corners him, and devours him. The week after that, model, singer, and actor Twiggy takes to the Muppet Show stage. The backstage plot revolves around the Phantom of the Muppet Show. People keep telling Kermit that there's a sinister ghost, and Kermit's a huge dickhead, so he doesn't believe any of them. Makes fun of them and insults them until he sees the Phantom for himself. The Phantom introduces himself as Uncle Deadly and reveals that he is the ghost of an actor who used to play the Muppet Theater until he was killed by the critics for doing a bad job in Othello. Everyone's scared of him this week, but I guess they get used to him pretty fast because he sticks around. And he's also less scary than Behemoth or other Muppet monsters, so whatever. He's a ghost, I guess. Standout moments this episode include the backstage plot, I suppose. It could have been better, and it would have fit much better in the Vincent Price episode, in my opinion. And also, At the Dance was tolerable this time because it had some weird couples like Statler and Waldorf. Then, February 14th, 1977. Is February 14th Valentine's Day?
Yep.
Oh, there you go. Romantic day. Comedian and all-around wacky lady Phyllis Diller joins the Muppets. This week's backstage plot involves Hilda wanting to look sexy like Phyllis Diller does. I guess. I don't know what she's going for. So she puts on makeup and clothes and makes Kermit horny for a second, which is not really that hard to do. He's always horny.
Yeah, it seems pretty easy at this point that any female guest or just other coworker in his vicinity, he'll get excited.
But he does indeed be like, whoa, Hilda, you're hot. But then all of her makeup and her clothes and stuff explodes off her body, and she's just a nasty old woman again. But they assure her that they still love her. Standout moments from this episode include an absolutely classic Rolf bit where he and Phyllis are sitting in a bar. He's playing piano, and they're insulting themselves and just being completely charming. I loved that. Phyllis tries then to teach Fozzie comedy, and he's too stupid to know how to do it right. At the Dance and Veterinarian's Hospital are both pretty good. And Phyllis's last sketch, where she's with the Muppet Orchestra playing the song The Entertainer, and she's playing saxophone and doing a very terrible job. And also, I think I have a crush on Phyllis Diller, so there's that too. But also, this episode contained one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen in my entire life, which we can talk about later.
I think I know what you're alluding to, and I don't have a problem with it, but I know what you're talking about.
To actually puke, but we'll talk about that later. Next up, the quote undisputed first lady of the musical comedy stage, Ethel Merman, joins the Muppets. The backstage plot which for some reason is lit very darkly and mysteriously, much more so than other episodes, is about Fozzie wanting to renegotiate his contract, so he brings in his agent, Irving Bizarre, who is so short that he basically is just a top hat with little shoes on. Irving eventually negotiates a 10 times pay increase for Fozzie. Unfortunately, 10 times nothing is still nothing, so Fozzie is paid nothing, apparently. Standout moments include a terrific shadow puppet act by puppeteer Richard Bradshaw. I'm not sure if they keep doing guest puppeteers, but this was amazing and like a really good use of the show.
Yeah, I know the upcoming Mummenschans, I'll learn how to say it correctly before we do that episode.
Yeah.
That one to me feels like they did this whole guest puppeteer sort of thing,
Right.
and later on when they have Edgar Bergen and Senor Vincent or whatever,
Whatever.
the guy who
Winsett.
uses his hands,
It's all right, guy.
like they have other puppeteers come on, but I don't know that they keep doing this sort of like highlighting a featured puppeteer, because I also thought it was super cool, and I
Yeah.
hope they do more things like this.
It just seems like a really natural extension of almost like the Muppets on Puppets kind of thing, like educational. It's educational television, but in a fun way. Also, Ethel Merman is terrific, really fun in all of her skits. She's got really wacky old lady energy. She sings a really fun medley of duets with a bunch of the Muppets, who are finally getting a big enough cast that George the janitor doesn't have to pop up and sing a duet with her, which is great. And they do Java, which we've seen a bunch of times, and they do a great job on it this time, I thought. Finally, is it finally? Did I do 5? Sure.
Yes.
Finally, on February 28th, 1977, 60s teen idol Connie Stevens was the guest. Backstage, Gonzo has this nasty old teddy bear, and he wants Hilda to fix it. But Hilda says, fuck that disgusting piece of trash bear, which Fozzie overhears and assumes she's talking about him. And he goes into a deep shame spiral. He keeps overhearing people say that the bear is horrible, the bear is disgusting, as Gonzo showing his bear off over and over again until he packs his bags to leave. Kermit catches him on his way out, explains the confusion, and allows both Fozzie and Gonzo's horrible little teddy bear to stay at the Muppet Show Theater. But it doesn't pay them, also still doesn't want to pay them. Standout moments for this one include, like the entire episode, I really like this one. More specifically, Kermit performs Lydia the Tattooed Lady, which is a Muppet classic song that will be sung at Jim's funeral. Wayne and Wanda get to actually have a conversation, which I thought was kind of cool, like give a little bit of depth to their character.
And we don't have to see them sing. So it's a nice combination of good Wayne and Wanda content and without actually seeing a Wayne and Wanda number.
I'm warming up to them. I'm actually warming up to a few different things, except the houses, which can die. But I like Wayne and Wanda too. I like that they're kind of like duplicitous, or like Wayne is like kind of an asshole. Kermit does like a fun Wolfman Jack impression sort of to introduce Connie, which I thought was cool. And Zoot and Phenomena do a neat little classic Muppet sketch that could have been on any late night show in the 50s or 60s. And freaking Bert and Ernie are there, and they pop up at the end, and Ernie tricks Bert into singing Some Enchanted Evening, and it's like one of the best Muppet Show sketches we've seen so far, I think. Then we also watched a couple of American Express commercials, the conceit of which are that no one recognizes Jim Henson without a Muppet on his arm, so to get any respect at all, he has to have his American Express credit card. And in the beginning, he's kind of like standing on a set with a bunch of Muppets around him, and then goes and he's like, I'm a businessman, look at my card. But I don't believe nobody knows who he is.
I mean, some people do, but I think it makes sense that, like, you'd have to be watching specific talk shows to see his face at this point.
So. Yeah.
And they also had a whole line of these American Express commercials going around this time. Like they had a Mel Blanc one as well, where he was like, do you know I'm Bugs Bunny? Like, these people don't. So they don't give me any respect. But yeah, I guess I just didn't have many thoughts on these. The reason they're included in this batch of things we watched is because they were filmed on February 11th, 1977. So I don't know exactly when they started airing. I think in the Jim's Red Book journal entry for this, it says they were filmed on February 11th, 1977 to air next summer. So I assume that's probably summer of 77 or 78. Who really knows? But yeah, so this is the closest I could get to putting a date on these things, so I figured I would toss them into this batch.
I guess the only thought I have on it is, and I keep trying to find information about this, but like it is indicative of the success of the Muppet Show that he has his own commercial, I suppose. But I can't figure out like how successful the Muppet Show really is at this point because it's like halfway through its first season, I suppose, almost.
I mean, if I remember correctly, it was pretty successful pretty early, and it just like skyrockets from there. Like it becomes like the most watched show in its time slot ever, kind of thing, for a while. And I think it started off pretty strong in the first season. So I think a lot of people knew the Muppets right away.
Okay.
All right, so diving into, as Sam alluded to, the really weirdly timed Halloween-ish episode.
It came out around Halloween in jolly old England. Oh, no, wait. It was not. It was produced around Halloween. So they just had Halloween on the brain.
Oh, yeah, because it aired in April in the UK.
So, sometimes when you're producing a show, you miss, and like you don't get the production schedule correct. And then your Halloween episode comes out in January. And that's okay. Happens to the best of us.
But yeah, Kermit introduces this as an unusual edition, a little bit strange. Be prepared for strange, weird, and scary. And like you said, it's largely not like scary or too weird, but there is a slight Halloween-ish tint to everything that's happening.
They bust out all their monsters and ghost puppets.
It is worth noting, I think, as well, that we will see Vincent Price again in the future, / we've already seen him in the past on this podcast with the Muppets. He was a guest when the Muppets hosted The Tonight Show in 1979, which we will talk about in the future on this podcast. And he made a cameo appearance in the Muppets Go Hollywood special, which we already watched and discussed on this podcast.
Right. That has erased itself from my mind. So
yeah, same. I think we when we get back to 1979, we're gonna have to rewatch that. I think because
peek at that one.
It's completely gone. So when we're starting off, I don't necessarily highlight the Fozzie jokes a lot because they're typically not very good or important to what we're discussing here. But this one starts off that spooky feeling right away, where his joke is about a vampire living in a split-level coffin. It was an okay joke, but it was also one of those things where I was like, oh, okay, we are going to lean into this theme. And this is the only episode we've seen so far that has had a theme.
This batch of them also has some pretty good Fozzie intro jokes, I think. There's some unique ones, at least.
Yes, there's one where he specifically makes fun of Gonzo for some reason that we'll get to.
That's the second time he's done it, too. Gonzo's so dumb. There's been 2 Gonzo's so dumb jokes, which is not nice. And Gonzo's not dumb. He's just innocent and naive.
It's like Fozzie looked around and was like, who here is more insecure than I am? That guy. Let's pick on him.
True. The only person lower on the feeding order or whatever Fozzie is.
Oh, man. But speaking of someone who's lower on the feeding order, Shaky Sanchez.
Oh, boy.
Getting eaten by Behemoth in one of those sketches that makes me go, I want to see below the frame on this one.
Were there 2 people in there? Was there only one person in there?
So I can tell from the voices that Shaky Sanchez is performed by Jim Henson, and Behemoth is performed by Richard Hunt. And so we are essentially seeing Behemoth, like this big costume walk-around type of Muppet,
with a big old mouth.
With Shaky Sanchez in his mouth. So I have to imagine that at certain points, both Jim Henson and Richard Hunt are underneath the Behemoth puppet. And Richard Hunt is performing Behemoth while Jim Henson's like sticking his hand through the mouth. And at one point, there's like one of those lighting tricks gives itself away. You can see that it looks like maybe Richard Hunt is in a full black suit.
Yeah,
inside.
You can see his head for a second.
Yes, you can see the shape of a head inside Behemoth's mouth.
That's creepy.
Yeah, so I think he's just standing there inside Behemoth, like controlling that mouth.
Like pulling the mouth up and down.
Yeah, and then the way Behemoth eats Shaky and then takes Shaky in and out of his mouth and holds him there, Jim Henson has to be like ducking out underneath the Behemoth puppet and then coming up outside of it to control Shaky, and then doing the same multiple times throughout the sketch. He is like going in and out from underneath the Behemoth puppet.
And then there's a part where the puppet is clearly taken off of Jim's arm, and then Jim has to sneak over while Behemoth's singing his part, and I guess very carefully creep his arm up into this puppet. It's good.
It's very well done, and you can just like see that moment where Behemoth is holding Shaky in his hand, and it's very clearly like limp puppet, and nothing's happening with it. And then you slowly just start to see it come to life, and you're like, okay, that's how long it took Jim to get out from underneath Behemoth and then put his arm back into the puppet.
Yeah, it's really fun to watch these with the even if it's a bad skit, it's like easy to miss what the conceit or like the joke of the puppetry is. And And like the best ones do have a kind of like, this is the weird, crazy puppet thing we want to try. But they do it so well that you never even really think about like, this is like the problem that they had to solve, that they probably like wrote the whole rest of the sketch around or something. And yeah.
Well,
like
I
a
wonder
puppet
how sketches like this go over with like non-puppet nerds.
Yeah,
like
that's
like
what-
obviously we're intrigued by these things, but I think this sketch is one of those where the sketch itself is kind of meh. Like the song isn't great. The joke doesn't really land at the end, and it's just kind of like the puppeteering is what is more impressive about this sketch than anything.
Yeah.
So like other people might just walk away from this sketch being like, meh, that was all right.
Yeah, it's kind of like a worse version of what's the one where the person's giving all their pieces away that we watched last week?
All of Me.
Yes, All of Me. Not a worse version, but it's similar enough that I think if you weren't like a big puppet nerd, you'd be like, well, this is just kind of the same thing, and not think about how much ducking Jim had to do. But it is a shame that we don't have more footage of them under the stage.
Yeah, I am very excited for us to get to the documentary of Muppets and Men because there is lots of chaotic below-the-frame footage
Cool.
in that.
Does
we
it
get to check
show
out.
a guest backstage with with the Muppets? Does
I believe there's a lot of backstage behind-the-scenes
I mean like
footage in that.
literally backstage, like the set where they're
I think
standing
so.
up on a thing? Okay, I really want
think
to see
so.
what that looks like.
Yeah.
I think I'd be so scared if I was a guest that I would fall through the hole.
Yeah, there's some specific moments in these episodes where they're doing a lot of moving around between the guests and the puppets that I'm just like, oh, I am very curious about what the floor looks like right now. Like,
Be
where
really
is
careful with Ethel Merman. She's 100 years old. Please don't let her fall through the hole.
But speaking of that backstage area, we have what I thought was like almost a weirdly progressive moment in this episode.
Yeah.
And then it turns out to not actually be that because it's 1977, and that's, I guess, I would.
I almost read it as just like Kermit is fucked up, kind of. Like no other Muppet would have a problem with. You're talking about the three-headed monster having multiple genders, right?
Yes. So there's a three-headed monster that comes in, but before we meet the three-headed monster, Scooter comes in and tells Kermit, like, hey, somebody's here and they want to perform on the show. And Kermit says, who is he? And Scooter says, well, it's not really a he. And Kermit says, okay, who is she? And Scooter says, well, it's not really a she. It's more of a they. And I was like, oh, interesting. Word, using the word it isn't great, but like using they as a singular pronoun was an interesting choice. But then it turns out what that means is that it's a three-headed monster.
Yeah.
That is apparently named Tom, Dick, and Harry, but also at some points uses individual he and she pronouns for the different heads. And when it is brought to Kermit's attention that they use he and she pronouns, that's when he turns to the camera and is like, oh, look how confusing, or look how confused they are. They don't even know their genders.
Scooter didn't really have a problem with it. If he said that to Gonzo, if they said that to Gonzo, Gonzo would be like, okay, hello.
Yeah.
But Kermit's just gotta be a little stinker about everything.
They got to make him uptight and like what they are viewing as the voice of the audience.
Yeah,
which
that's true.
I think they're like not giving the audience enough credit at this point.
Or they know that they know their audience. And they're
That's
like,
yeah.
this
Again,
is a weird
it is hard to
thing.
put myself into the mindset of an audience 10 years before I was born. But yeah, then we get a very interesting introduction to a House of Horrors sketch where Hilda is revealed to be from Transylvania.
I liked that.
Yeah.
This batch made me be like, oh, I'm going to miss Hilda when she's gone, actually. I kind of like Hilda.
Yeah, same. I think Hilda is definitely one of those that is going to be missed. And looking into sort of some of these season 1 things that go away, some of the Muppets do pop up occasionally in later seasons, just not as regularly as they currently are. So we won't be saying goodbye forever to Hilda and Mildred and George and stuff, but
Mildred can go away.
they're not going to be around that much.
Doesn't George have an actual episode where he quits being the
I think
janitor?
so.
I think he does
I think
too.
so. But in this one, there were some standout moments. I think we see Fozzie and Gonzo being friends, even
Yeah.
though we just alluded to them like dunking on each other.
In like a fun like buddy comedy like that Daffy Duck and Porky Pig would go on. I thought that was cool.
Well, it also feels like sort of what has been alluded to the Muppets Haunted Mansion might kind of be about, is that Gonzo has to stay in the Haunted Mansion for some reason on Halloween. And this like felt like sort of like that, where it's like this haunted house that Gonzo apparently rented for the weekend as a nice little cabin getaway for him and Fozzie to hang out.
Well, okay, one thing. Why is Uncle Deadly here? Should have just switched the episodes around. I'm going to make an ultimate viewing order for the Muppets so that this kind of thing never happens to anyone else ever again.
Well, but the problem is it also is just out of order. Like,
right.
No matter what order you watch these in, whether it's production order or the order we're watching them in, Uncle Deadly's introduction is botched.
Yeah, but I'm going to make the Sam order where I fix everything.
I feel like there's going to be some hang-ups when it comes to like Scooter and other characters that might throw off your order no matter what order you try to put them in. But I'm going to
have one of those big cork boards with the strings going everywhere.
And then somebody else will start a podcast watching the Muppets in the Sam order.
I like this, Matt. Great marketing.
We're going to get a fan cast of our podcast. There's one moment in this we didn't mention yet, but Vincent Price shows up as a sort of Dracula-type character.
That Dracula werewolf kind of dude?
Yeah, I couldn't really understand his whole deal, and it gets even more confusing as it goes on. But Uncle Deadly is his beautiful assistant, and this is the first time we are seeing Uncle Deadly, who will be our Muppet of the Week later on. This ends in a joke that, one, you're going to have to Google to figure out, but two, even after Googling, is still confusing because at the end of this where they're talking about like, oh, he transforms on a full moon, but wait, it's New Year's Eve. And on New Year's Eve, the master turns into Jack Parnell. And you, like me, might be going, who the hell is Jack Parnell?
Yep.
And your answer is, oh, he was the band leader for the Muppets.
Yeah.
Like the actual guy who was making the music that you're hearing on the Muppet Show.
He was Nigel for real.
Yes. And he was the ATV/Muppet Show band leader. The reason you're hearing this Jack Parnell joke is because this is the UK master of this episode.
Ah.
The original American version of this joke is on New Year's Eve, the master turns into Guy Lombardo.
Well, that doesn't really help either.
It doesn't help us, but it would help people at the time because Guy Lombardo was an American, I think Canadian-American band leader who people would have been more familiar with and would wear like the party hats and stuff. And I think he was sort of like maybe kind of a Dick Clark kind of guy for these New Year's Eve celebrations.
Right.
So it made more sense if it was him. And apparently the original U.S. broadcast print with the Guy Lombardo reference has never been recovered and is considered lost.
Interesting.
Yeah, and the only place that like people, I guess, really know about this is from maybe scripts and also in the Muppet Show book, which is the like illustrated adaptations of some sketches. In that, the Guy Lombardo line is still in there.
Well, I was going to tell you all that same exact information.
Well,
great. I was trying really hard this episode.
Well, you can lead into the next stuff.
I don't have any other stuff. That's the only one I found.
Whoops. So we have a panel discussion in this episode that's different than the other panel discussions we've seen. One, Kermit's not wearing his cute little suit.
Yes, Kermit doesn't got a suit on in this one. Very weird.
Missed that. Also, it seems to be less about like a debate, which a lot of these have been, which is like 2 versus 2. And instead, this is Vincent Price brought on 2 culinary experts to talk about food, which is like not really the way the panel discussion has ever been done.
It feels like they are sick of doing the panel discussion. And Jim's like, I'm not going to go get the Kermit suit puppet. I'm just going to keep this one on.
Yeah.
Or maybe the Kermit suit puppet doesn't have feet because Kermit does get eaten in this one. So maybe he's like built different.
Oh, that's a good point.
His body's probably just different. But
You're
still,
right.
Whatever. They could have figured it out. It just is weird he doesn't have a suit on. It seems like he's being lazy.
Yeah, like before he always seems very much like in character to do this presentation of like, hello friends, we're here to raise the cultural intellect of this show.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just like, oh, it's just Kermit hanging out with Vincent Price.
Yeah.
And then Gordon Heap is there, who we previously saw eating all the clues in the Sherlock Holmes Rolf sketch. And then also Pierre Lecousse, who seems to be a French chef, because for some reason they didn't think, hey, maybe we should have our chef character.
I have the Swedish chef on, right?
I don't
Pierre
understand.
Lecousse doesn't even say any jokes, really. He's just kind of like, I like cooking. Then he gets eaten. Just eat the Swedish chef.
And this is his only appearance, I believe.
Ridiculous.
Pierre Lecousse does not come back, so they like invented a new chef character for this one sketch.
They needed us, Matt. They needed us in that writer's room.
Gotta get Jack Burns out of there. Make
Yeah.
room for us. And I think we alluded to the fact that it's, like, again, a spooky episode. There are ghosts throughout, and this led to, like, one of the very few at the dance jokes that I enjoyed, which was one of the ghosts dancing with another one and asking if they wanted to get a drink. And she said, "We can't. They don't serve spirits here."
Yeah, that was a pretty good one. I did like some of the at the dances in this batch were good because they were a little bit more like they had like a better through line, or they were like characters I knew or something. But this spooky at the dance worked for me.
We also didn't get any of the really, really dumb jokes in the at the dance that we normally get with, like, the gerund jokes or just the, like, I don't know. These were better overall. I'm still not a huge fan.
Also, at the dance jokes tended to be where characters were acting out of character, like Miss Piggy always had the wrong voice and stuff like that, and that has gone away to a large extent in these at the dance things.
Or Dr. Teeth dancing with Mildred for some reason.
Yeah, well, if people date, you know.
Yeah. We have the UK spot, which is the ghosts singing "I'm Looking Through You," a Beatles song, which feels like it would be really expensive.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. But maybe in England, it's like they're like free or something in England.
They're just handing Beatles songs out on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
This was one for me where I was like, oh, maybe I don't like all the UK spots.
No, this one is so long. And
it's so
boring.
long, and there's not really a joke beyond the idea that these are ghosts singing "I'm looking through you,"
Yeah,
and then it
and they
kept
were
going
just
for the whole song.
Trying out their green screen or whatever. They're keying them out.
It felt like this batch was one where there was a lot of green screen and, like, chroma key stuff happening in a lot
One
of
of
these.
the weirdest damn things I've ever seen in my whole life involves green screen.
We'll get to that in the next episode, yeah. But next up, after the "I'm Looking Through You," we have one of the most iconic, I think, talk spots in Muppet Show
probably
history.
one of the most well-known, and you see clips of it all the time.
Yeah, it is Kermit becomes a vampire after asking Vincent Price, how do you become a vampire for all those movies you do?
You just do. Your teeth just come out. That's the answer.
And then Kermit grows fangs and bites Vincent Price right on the neck.
Yeah, and the gif of him sliding over. I see that a lot. Ow.
It's such a good motion, just that very smooth, just thump.
Yeah. This was one where I think, not to get too ahead of myself, but if they had combined this with the Uncle Deadly backstage plot, I think that would have been really fun. Because like Vincent could have like explained like a spooky ghost story or something like that, and him and Uncle Deadly could have been like, "Hey, you're not so bad. You're just a weird freak like me." And then they could have had a little song. They could have sang "Freak Like Me" from the Spider-Man musical, for instance.
Well, that didn't exist yet.
But anyway, this was like, this talk spot's good, and this is an episode where it's like, oh, I wish Vincent Price could have dipped in a little bit more. Been backstage, Scooter comes back and he's got bats all over the place. Scooter's like, "What are you doing back here?"
Yeah, there are a few episodes in this that I felt like could have been switching some jokes with other episodes, and they would have worked better elsewhere. And I think, having Uncle Deadly be like not introduced in the same episode as the spooky stuff is happening felt weird. And I guess like overall the Vincent Price episode, I was kind of surprised at how middling it was for me. As far as like, I thought I was really going to enjoy it, and there's parts I really, really enjoy, but it didn't stick with me the way some of these other episodes in this batch did.
No, I think that talk spot's kind of the standout part of it. And then he sings that song at the end on the pipe organ with all the monsters, and the only thing I could think, it's "You've Got a Friend," and all I could think was they could have picked a better song for that. Like, that doesn't read as something that it's ironic for a bunch of monsters to sing to me.
Right, like what is the joke there?
Yeah.
Next up, we have the February 7th episode starring Twiggy. So yeah, Sam, you wanna talk about the?
This actually isn't the weirdest thing I've ever seen that I was gonna say.
Oh, I thought the opening of this episode is what you were alluding to when you were talking about the super weird chroma key thing.
There's another thing that made me deeply uncomfortable that we'll talk about even later. But this chroma key feather duster was the most painful thing we've seen on the Muppets because it literally hurt my face to watch it.
So we get a feather duster singing dance with a group of feather boas dancing behind it. And
this feather duster has a creepy mouth, first of all.
Just human teeth. Just a whole human mouth is there. It just goes on for a really long time.
Yeah.
And it's the opening sketch. So I feel like this is one that either could have been shorter, or if you bury it in the middle of an episode, I would have been okay with it.
Make it a UK spot so Americans aren't exposed to this.
Yeah, save
degeneracy.
us.
So the other thing about this episode or about this skit is that in the background, it's like chroma keyed to be extremely bright colors that flash a bunch of different bright colors the whole time. And I just personally found it extremely unpleasant to add on top of the boringness of the sketch.
Yeah, it is not, I don't know. There's nothing I would say redeeming about this sketch other than like, again, this is one of those where like some of their puppetry is interesting because they're doing the green screen. And so you can see that they're definitely trying to hide the rods and the way that they're doing the puppeteering. But it also is just wholly unpleasant.
Yeah. I think, not to spoil anything, but I think in this episode, At the Dance was my favorite part. So that should tell you something about how much I like this episode.
That's fair. I feel like there's a lot of misses
Yeah.
in this episode. Before we get into that, what was your familiarity with Twiggy?
She's another person who's like a Simpsons reference to me. I knew who she was more than a lot of the other people, but I've never really seen her in anything, I don't think.
My only frame of reference, besides just like kind of knowing about her in general, is that she's in the Blues Brothers.
She is?
Yeah, so there's a point in the Blues Brothers where Jake and Elwood are broken down at a gas station waiting for the gas truck to show up because there's no gas at the gas station.
Mm-hmm.
And while they're there, an attractive younger woman pulls up in a car to get gas, and Elwood goes and provides gas, like gives her gas.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually just stealing money from her. But that woman is Twiggy. And so she makes a very small cameo in the Blues Brothers.
I remember that part, but I had no idea that was Twiggy. I guess if it was 1976 or whatever, I'd be losing my damn mind.
Yeah, I think the people watching the Blues Brothers at the time definitely would have known.
What?
Hey, it's Twiggy!
Twiggy!
Well, I think I just also remember seeing like the credits at the end of Blues Brothers where they're like showing everybody on screen when they're showing their names.
Yeah.
They show her like waiting by the side of the road for Elwood, and it just says Twiggy, and I was like, that's an interesting name.
Okay. So basically none. No, but you do get a crash course in the history of Twiggy in this episode.
Yeah, and a very weird little number where she's singing another Beatles song, In My Life, and sort of mourning her past.
Yeah, it's showing a bunch of pictures of she's singing In My Life, which is a sad song about how much you miss your younger you and like how bad your life is now, kind of, and how your friends are dead. And showing
Well, like that song has been performed in a way that doesn't always need to sound sad.
Yeah, there's a
can be
happy
like
and sad part of the song for sure.
Yeah, but this is like her staring at superimposed photos of her modeling career from 10, 15 years ago and singing in a way that I'm just like, oh, I feel really bad for you right now, and I'm not entirely sure why.
Yeah. You're on the Muppet Show, lady, so you're doing okay. But I also wasn't sure if like somebody on the staff was like a Twiggy super fan and just being weird, or if Twiggy was like, I have a really good idea for a sketch. And both of those things are bad, but I wish I knew which one was the right answer.
I think Twiggy was like still really famous at this point, so I think she was one of those like really big gets for the Muppet Show, but this just felt like a weird thing where I was sort of, I think with a lot of these guests, we talk about sort of they're kind of past their prime, a lot of these early Muppet Show guests, in that they were probably really famous 10, 15 years before the episodes they did, so people knew who they were, but they weren't doing as much anymore. And it feels like that with like Twiggy and Connie Stevens, where it's like, oh, they were the most famous 15 years ago.
Right.
And that's usually not presented as like a sad thing. It's usually like, oh my God, we got this person who was so famous. Whereas like this sketch just makes it seem like everyone is sad. The Muppets are sad. Twiggy is sad. Or as Gonzo calls her, Leafy, Barky, and Branchy before they finally get her name right. But yeah, it was just very bizarre.
This also is the only skit. The Florence Henderson skit where she's singing in the misty forest is almost Muppetless. This one, aside from like a beginning that's just kind of tacked on, is literally Muppetless for the majority of it. It's just Twiggy's face.
And looking at Twiggy's face.
Yeah.
Like
and
it's
that
Twiggy
seems like
looking at Twiggy.
That seems like a breach of the agreement that the Muppet Show makes with its audience.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's just a very weird, I don't get it. I don't understand why that wasn't, again, like the UK spot. I don't get what the message they're trying to send with it is.
Twiggy's a loser.
Yeah, it feels like Twiggy is supposed to be accepting that her career is over.
Yep. This is your eulogy, Twiggy. It's happening
Yeah.
on the Muppet Show.
An in memoriam that you have to perform.
Yeah. That you either wrote for yourself or we wrote for you, and I don't know which one's worse.
You know who's not dead, Sam?
Who?
King Goshposh and Featherstone.
He lives in an insufferable skit.
It is very dull.
And he's married to Featherstone now, which is nice.
Featherstone is the queen now.
Yeah.
King Rupert / Goshposh is back in their full body Frog Prince, Hey Cinderella, whichever one that was that I'm forgetting right now.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, we get King Rupert / Goshposh back. Featherstone is the queen now. And yeah, you said it, Sam. The sketch is bad.
It starts off weird because she's telling Gonzo a bedtime story, and he's in bed with Muppy for some reason, which is cute, but I don't know why they're doing it or why Gonzo's going to bed. And the poem, it's A.A. Milne, who wrote Winnie the Pooh and Halfway Up the Stairs, right?
Yeah, and Coddleston Pie.
Well, this is maybe one of his lesser works.
Yeah, because there's not really, like, I don't know. I didn't get the message of this one either.
Nope.
Like, this is one where I'm just like, there's not like a joke. There's not a message. I don't understand why we're watching this happen. We do see, it's in that one, though, that we see TR and Catgut from Muppet Musicians of Bremen, though.
Oh, yeah, because they're all there at the end when the poem's over? Is that what's happening?
I
She's
think
suddenly
there's, like-
surrounded by farm animals.
Yeah. It's just not good. My main note about that just said, meh.
Oh, that's
That was
damning.
That was as far as I got to thinking about that sketch because
Okay.
it just like ended and I was hoping something would happen. It would redeem itself and it just didn't.
Yeah, it was interesting to see King Goshposh again in Featherstone. That
Yeah.
was the most interesting part of it. But
Well, I think
Meh.
seeing them pop up gave me hope that I was like, hey, it's my old friends.
yeah,
And then to see them poorly used was a bummer. And the at the dance segment, we alluded to earlier that Statler and Waldorf are dancing together, which is nice to see. They're getting along. There's also a very good Sam the Eagle joke where he's dancing with a woman who asks the difference between immoral and illegal.
uh-huh.
And I don't remember his description of immoral, but he says illegal is me with a tummy ache.
Yeah, that was really good.
It's
Like,
very
don't look
good.
at me. I don't write this stuff. What's he even doing there? He hates it so much.
He's just there because they thought of a good eagle joke.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
I think Sam is like, in retrospect, when I rated him, I think early Sam is like a really good underrated Muppet character. He's just so like his visible annoyance is so good, and he kind of loses that a little bit as he gets more pompous later, I think. But he just is so uncomfortable.
Well,
and
I think
that
he
gets
starts to
lost a
disappear
little
into the background more. He's not
Yeah.
as much of a featured character later on as Fozzie becomes more famous, and Frank Oz, I think, probably steps more into playing Fozzie than Sam.
Yeah.
We don't see as much as Sam the Eagle later on.
Mhm.
He's always there, but he's never like a super prevalent, like popular
He's
front.
just there for like the America joke when he used to
Yes.
be there for like the kind of like grump, like I don't like any of this kind of joke that doesn't happen quite as much anymore.
Yeah. Then we have Venda Face.
I hated this.
I don't understand it. I don't like Venda Face makes me feel like it's going to vend a face. Like we're gonna get
so
like
it's a machine that has a bunch of buttons on it that have different facial features. Fozzie walks up to it and it says it's a psychiatric evaluation machine, and it says Vindaface on it in huge letters. I read a little bit about this, that they built this puppet, and one of the producer David Laser, I think, said you can't build big stuff like this and only use it once. So then they had to figure out other skits for it to be in, and it does take those, so hands reach through it and take a Muppet's face off in a different skit and put a different face on it.
Okay.
But it just so happened that the first one that aired, or even the first one they made, I wasn't sure, was about it being a psychiatric machine. So they fucked up, basically.
Okay, that makes more sense at least that it gets used like
It gets
it's
used
supposed
3
to.
times. And
Okay.
one of those times, they couldn't think of another joke, I guess, about putting a different face on the thing. So
Yeah, because that's just the thing is like you see this thing pop up and it has a very clear character to it, like Venda Face. It's gonna put a face on something.
yeah.
Like it's gonna rearrange a face. It's gonna do something, and then the sketch isn't that funny at all.
No.
But it's also confusing because you're waiting for a different joke to happen.
Yeah, and even like Vindaface could have like a psychiatric evaluation mode where it like puts different faces with different like attitudes on Fozzie or something like that, and he's just like,
Yeah.
how does this feel? And then he turn around and be like really happy and say some one-liner and then turn around. But they probably were just mad that they had to use it again, and they didn't make a very good sketch.
It could have been a thing where it's like, oh, you look so sad. Let's help you with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they like put a happy face on Fozzie's
Big
face.
weird teeth in his mouth or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, there, is that better?
We're punching it up again. We're doing your job for you guys. 70s Muppet Show writers room.
Should have hired us. Or hire us now. Whatever. We'll accept a late hiring. We'll do a new Muppet Show.
We could do Muppet Show remastered like Star Wars. We could CGI in.
So not only is there going to be the Sam cut, but there'll also be like added in CGI moments.
Yeah. More little critters running around, stuff like that.
This episode has a small moment that kind of confirms that the Muppet Newsflash is being seen in the theater. Statler and Waldorf immediately comment on the Newsflash in this episode.
Right.
So I think our whole confusion about is the Newsflash just something for people at home or is it like a stage production seems to be it is a stage production that is happening for people in the theater.
I actually wrote the exact opposite thing down for the Vincent Price episode where I was like, this confirms that it's being seen on television.
Oh.
Because that guy, I would assume...
Oh, you're right.
...is watching the Muppet Newsflash from home, and that's not on stage.
But is that just like a meta... The thing happening, his apartment is on stage.
That's what I was thinking wasn't the case.
Oh, God.
But maybe Muppet News is broadcast from the stage of the Muppet Show and is actual news that the other Muppets watch to get their news because they're wacky and that's how they get their news.
That's why they don't know much. They only get weird random stories about like gas station owner in Nebraska.
That's why
doing
they're so stupid. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fun to see Uncle Deadly, I guess, in this episode, and to have him have a little bit more of like a character than I was expecting him to this early on, I think, was interesting.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about Uncle Deadly a lot later on in our Muppet of the Week segment, but yeah, it is nice to see sort of how he started to become a character, even though it's a little confusing still as to whether or not he's actually dead or not, because he says he was killed by the critics, but it also sounds like he's been at the theater for a very long time, like an actual ghost. So, yeah.
I suppose Kermit's been killed before and been fine. So maybe death is more of it's like an open door kind of thing for Muppets.
This also is one of those times where we talked about this with Gonzo previously, where it's weird that they often treat Gonzo as this weird other species that they're disgusted by or freaked out by and they don't understand. And it's sort of the same thing with Uncle Deadly where people are repulsed or scared by his appearance.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you have like Gorgon Heap walking around just like another peer.
Indiscriminately eating people.
Yeah. And yet this like dragon-looking fellow waltzes in and you're like, oh my God, it's a hideous beast.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to stretch your belief a little bit there for sure. He could have done something spooky, I suppose, or... He didn't really do anything except just walk around and be like, "Wah."
I also feel like the whole Phantom of the Muppet Show concept behind this episode, they could have like hidden him in the shadows or had him like breaking
Ruin
things.
Yeah.
Yes, like have him popping up places where you don't expect or just have his eyes peering out. But he just like walks into frame and is like, I am the Phantom. It's like, okay, what's up, dude?
Good for you, buddy. And he doesn't even get to act. That's the thing that bothers me most when there's build up in the backstage for a specific character, and then that character doesn't get an act or anything like that. Like the three-headed monster should have had an act in the last one, and Uncle Deadly should have had like a song in this one for it to even be worth our time.
Yeah, it often feels like, I don't know, and maybe this is purposeful in the way it's produced, but it feels like we are seeing half of the show. Mm-hmm. Like when we're spending time backstage, it doesn't feel like the show has stopped sometimes. It feels like something else has happened. And like obviously sometimes they're alluding to that where somebody will be coming off stage from something we did not get to watch. But there are other times where, it feels like they're setting up to something important and it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So the next episode is the special Valentine's Day episode, which really has nothing to do with Valentine's Day at all. But it's hosted / featuring the guest that is Phyllis Diller.
Yep. Sure.
Moving. That's okay. I did it in one. Moving on. But yeah, Phyllis Diller was one of the first solo female comedians in the U.S. So she was extremely famous by this point. And she also will have a brief appearance in the Muppets Go Hollywood. Whenever I read that like these people have a brief appearance in the Muppets Go Hollywood, I don't know if it's just a clip from this episode.
Oh, that's a good
or
point.
if they're actually there.
Right.
Because I don't remember Muppets Go Hollywood enough to remember if these people are like part of the audience that's there doing the conga line and everything.
Well, yeah, it's all, it was also like there was a lot of actual famous people there who didn't get to talk or anything like that. So
Right.
she could just walk by in the background.
But Phyllis Diller, I feel like I know her from Bug's Life, and that's about all I really know her from.
Yeah. I know her from this Rankin and Bass, who made the stop motion Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. They also made a Halloween one that nobody's ever seen because it's really bad.
That's a bummer.
Called Mad Monster Party. Has really cool puppets because it was designed by one of the artists of Mad Magazine. So they're all kind of like Mad Magazine-y. And it looks great. It's just kind of boring. But she plays the Bride of Frankenstein. And Frankenstein's like Fang, which is her fake husband that Phyllis Diller talks about in her stand-up routine. And so she just makes a bunch of jokes about how big and dumb and lazy the Frankenstein monster is. And she's just like a little ghoul.
This looks really cool. Are you
It
telling me it's
looks
not
great,
good?
and I own it on I'll lend it to you this Halloween. You'll fall asleep for sure because I did. But it looks great. I mean, it's something you could have on like muted during a Halloween party or something, and people will be like, "Oh, this is cool." Turn it up.
Is
Be
it
like, no thanks.
Is it like a collab with Mad Magazine?
I don't know. I think it was written by some of the Mad Magazine people too.
Okay, because it's called Mad Monster Party.
Oh my God, I never even thought of that. So probably is a collab with Mad Magazine. And now that I think about the kind of jokes they tell, it's not funny because the jokes are all pop culture references that are completely inexplicable. You could never in a million years Google what the fuck they're talking about. But
right.
Look up some pictures and watch some video of it because there are fun parts, but overall the effect is not great.
And say, as somebody who loves like the Rankin and Bass Christmas specials, one, I didn't even know this existed until just now, and two, I'm excited to give it a watch, even if it's not very good. Because
maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was in a bad mood when I watched it. I'll pull it out of the old garage for you.
Do we want to start with what I assume you were alluding to earlier, Sam?
Yeah,
with,
the most horrible thing I've ever seen in my my life.
Yeah,
so
why don't you describe it to us?
Go La La Jubilee Jug Band, who's the jug band we've seen in many episodes, the little hillbilly guys. They're singing the song called Mississippi Mud. They're sitting full Muppet body, head, feet, the whole thing. Their feet are in a big mud puddle. They're in like a swamp. Their feet are in the mud puddle. They have bare feet with little toesies. And as they're singing the song, it's real mud, and they're splooshing their feet around in this mud, flinging it all over their bodies, getting it all in their little disgusting Muppet sponge feet. And it just, for some reason, and there's so many zoom-ins on the feet, and you can hear the mud going blop, 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 blop. And for some reason, it made me physically, like, I'm not overstating how disgusted it made me to watch this. It gave me extreme revulsion. And they're splashing mud all over themselves, and I just was like, how do they clean these guys? Do they just throw them away after this? It's gross.
My instinct was that the legs and the upper body of the puppet were two separate pieces.
Yeah.
So I think the upper bodies are the traditional jug band puppets we are seeing, and then the legs are just specifically built for this one sketch.
Oh, it's such dookie looking mud, too. Oh, it makes me sick.
I liked it.
Oh, man. I know that it's just purely my own, like, whatever wiring in my brain, but I could not even look at this.
It's one of those things where I look at this and understand why it's gross, but I also don't mind that it's gross.
Yeah.
Like, I look at this and I'm like, yeah, I understand objectively there's a lot of gross noises and, like, things happening there, but I don't know. It was fun to me. I think it's another, like, thinking about the puppeteering and thinking about the fact that, like, this is something we don't see when it comes to puppeteering a lot of times is, like, this like
wet and gooey.
Yeah, like interacting with mud is like something we just don't see. It's like when in one of these episodes Kermit gets like a pie thrown in his face, and there's something about like when they are just like putting things on the puppets they don't normally put on that like raises those questions to me that are interesting of like, did they build the puppet for this? Are they able to clean it pretty easily?
I think the pies are funny because they're clearly always like soap or shaving cream or something like that. They're just washing Kermit.
Yes.
But this
He's
is
going to have a really
mud.
clean head next week.
And yeah, I know it is cool, like, and it's a fun idea, but just I don't know, I'd love to hear if it made other people sick too. Like,
I can tell you for sure that it does, at least listening to the Muppet-turgy podcast. This is also one
okay.
of their least favorite things that has ever existed on a Muppet show.
just
So,
nasty. It's nasty.
we also find out that Hilda is 35, which is
Yeah.
somewhat
At least she said she
surprising.
is.
Yes.
Maybe she's lying, I guess, but 35 is also a weird age to lie about yourself being.
Well, especially in an episode where she's trying to appear younger, it's weird that she would like sort of go for like a middle ground lie.
Yeah.
If she's actually 60 and she's trying to be younger and sexier, saying she's 35 and referring to that as being old is a weird middle ground concession where I'm just like, I don't necessarily understand that, but I understand like as from the joke writer's point of view. It's funny to find out that this woman you probably assumed was 60 or 70 is only 35.
I'm also relieved that the other Muppets were like, no way you're only 35. And that they weren't like, yeah, 35 is old, because then it would have felt horrible.
Yes, as somebody who's about to be 34.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was interesting that this is all sort of tied to the fact that Hilda wants to look younger, like Phyllis Diller, who like very publicly has talked about getting plastic surgery. And so it's obviously tied to that. But again, it's also interesting because like Phyllis Diller doesn't look 25.
No, not at all. She looks like a cute little old lady.
But yeah, then we get that what I think I texted you about, Sam, that something I could watch for an hour if they would give it to me, is just the Rolf and Phyllis Diller insulting themselves at a piano bar.
Good. Yeah. I really wish they had ended in a song like a classic Jimmy Dean
yes.
thing. They were so close.
It felt like it was working there, and it was just going, and I was like, yeah, this is perfect. And then that was the only thing that ruined it a little bit, was that they didn't end in like a nice little, like, I don't know what song.
Like, ain't got a barrel of money,
Yeah.
or something like that. And it would have been great. It was still great, though. One thing weird that I noticed just before we get into that, in the beginning, when all the Muppets are around Phyllis Diller, Rolf has a collar on. Did you notice that?
I did not.
He's got a red collar on, and I kept waiting for a skit to come up where he had a collar on. But
Interesting. Yeah, they often have that moment during the opening theme where they say, like, Miss Phyllis Diller, and they'll just, like, show them backstage with Muppets all around them to show, like, they're part of the crew.
yeah.
But I did not notice that he was wearing a collar.
This one also in the intro had a fun Fozzie moment where he's telling a joke, but it's too long, and they close the curtains on him while he's telling his joke. I like that. But yeah, this was like Jimmy Dean classic Rolf. Like it was like purposefully that, it felt like because he talks about Lassie, right?
Yep.
And he's divorced from Lassie at this point. So I guess canonically he was in a relationship with her and it fell apart.
At some point.
She married Francis the Talking Mule, who I looked up, and he was in that was a series of movies from the 50s about a talking donkey that was in the army, and there were 7 movies.
That'll be our next podcast.
Yeah.
We'll just watch all of those.
Oh man.
We'll do a minute-by-minute breakdown of those movies.
Just ruin our lives.
And everyone around us who's like,
Yep.
wait, what is your new podcast?
Yeah, the Muppet one's
It's called
pretty
Matt
close
and
to-
Sam, the Talking Boys.
Shoot. Well, when you think of a good enough name for something, you gotta do it. So hopefully Francis the Talking Mule is lost media or something.
Oh, it's not, Sam. I see DVDs on Amazon right
Oh,
now.
fuck. Well, okay, we'll talk about that later. Anyway.
You get all 7 movies for $14.
Oh no. It's too good a deal not to do a minute-by-minute podcast of it.
We've got Francis the Talking Mule. First out the gate, nailed it. Second movie, Francis Goes to the Races.
Uh-huh.
Francis Goes to West Point.
Uh-huh.
I've got questions about that one.
I think he goes to college.
And becomes part of the military.
Yeah, he already was part of the military.
Oh, okay. We've got Francis Covers the Big Town. That's very vague.
Kind of want to watch that one to know what the hell that is.
Is it like Baby's Day Out, but with a talking mule?
Oh, that would be good. Okay, maybe I like this movie.
Ooh. We have Francis joins the WACS, which
Yeah.
is the Women's Army Corps,
Yeah,
which
I was very curious about that one as well.
I'm sure isn't handled incredibly well. Francis in the Navy, and then Francis in the Haunted House.
Oh my God, Francis in the Haunted House?
Yeah.
Ah, shit. Matt, maybe we have to watch at least one Francis the Talking Wheel movie.
Mickey Rooney is in Francis in the Haunted House.
That sounds amazing. Okay, well, he's part of the Muppetverse because he stole Lassie from Rolf, so it all counts.
Oh, man. I'm sure. These don't look good, but I am very curious to watch maybe one of them for about 15, 20 minutes until I turn it off and get bored.
Okay, we'll try.
Yeah. But back to Phyllis Diller.
Yeah, back to Phyllis. So that was amazing. I agree. I could watch a Phyllis, like if Rolf had jumped from Jimmy Dean to the Phyllis Diller show, that would have been a hell of a jump.
Yeah, like if Phyllis Diller got like a late night kind of variety show kind of thing, I could easily see Rolf stepping in as her sidekick. The UK spot in this one is an Electric Mayhem number. That is, it's a fine song, but I think the most interesting thing about it is the digital transitions they've got going on.
Those are cool. Kind of comic booky thing.
Yeah, they have like these wavy circles and lines happening that transition between one band member and the others, and there's definitely seemed like an era where they're starting to experiment more with like digital like video technology between the chroma key stuff and this like transition thing that's happening in this one. It feels like we're on the cusp of some new technology being used pretty readily. And as we've talked about before, Jim Henson was always super into the latest technology and trying to keep up with the times.
Yeah, when you started to say that, I thought, oh, that seems like a very Jim thing to be excited about. Mm-hmm. The talk spot is great with Fozzie and Phyllis. Not for any particularly good to talk about reasons, except that they're just very funny together.
Yeah, I think it's nice in the way that the Rolf and Phyllis is nice, is that she is very good at sort of tapping into what makes that Muppet funny.
Yeah.
And like Rolf's sort of self-deprecating humor, like this like blues piano man, like woe is me kind of vibe. She's really good at matching, and then giving Fozzie comedy tips, like just again makes sense.
Yeah.
And using the guest in a way that like one, they get to interact with the Muppets a lot, and two, in a way that even makes sense for both parties. I think just makes for a great episode.
Yeah, because there are like a lot of like in this batch of episodes, there are tons of missed opportunities to match Muppets with their like boggling missed opportunities. But like Twiggy and Miss Piggy should have talked to each other, right?
Twiggy and Piggy.
They're
match made in heaven.
First of all, rhymes, and second of all, they're both models. Like Piggy wants to be a model. That would have been a great pairing.
Yeah.
But this one they took every opportunity. Which I wonder how much, because you did say the hosts sometimes will have input into what their episode will be, and I do wonder how much he was just like hanging out in the writers' room, being like, "Oh, you got a comedian bear? I know what to do with that comedian bear. Let's do that."
Next up, we have a version of something that we have seen multiple times before. This is the Hugga Wugga sketch, which is pretty much an adaptation, I would say, of the Scrap Flap.
Right. Right.
And the previous version of Scrap Flap was performed on the Mike Douglas Show and the Ed Sullivan Show and the Tonight Show. And it's just a couple monstery alien-looking Muppets singing Scrap Flap, and then one guy just pops in and is like, "Merp."
Yeah.
And there's explosions involved.
And
it's very good.
Kill each other and such.
Yeah. And I remember the first version I think we watched of this was one of the first TV appearances on like the Jack Parr Show or the Today Show, and we loved it. And then by the time it was on the Ed Sullivan Show, we were like, maybe they've done this too many times. It seems like they're bored of it. They should move on.
And they changed the puppets too.
Yes,
because the original one had the puppets that almost looked like you were looking at them through some kind of deep space telescope, and they were like horrifying creatures, or like they were deep underwater creatures or something like that. And they didn't have Muppet eyes or anything like that. They looked like living coral reefs or something like that, and they were really cool.
Yeah,
but then they switched them, I think, to like these little 2-eye guys that are in this sketch in the second one we watched.
This is one where the main thing I liked out of it was the puppetry in general and their use of the camera. Like, I feel like they have a lot of fog going on, and there's a lot of playing with the space they're in, of like popping up closer or further away from the camera. And so there's a lot of like, oh, how'd they do that kind of moments that I enjoyed. But I felt like it sort of, again, felt like they were playing a cover of one of their old songs that they're kind of tired of playing.
The Muppet Labs I thought was really interesting because Dr. Bunsen Honeydew's head explodes like for real a number of times.
Yeah, it seems like the stuff that later he'll pass on to Beaker and be like, here, Beaker, you try this on.
Yes,
but he doesn't have a Beaker right now.
No, he has to experiment on himself with the exploding hat, the exploding earmuffs, and the self-destructing neckties. But the exploding hat and the exploding earmuffs just explode on his head violently. The necktie is kind of a camera trick, and it switches the puppet. But like they actually just blow up the hat on his head. Those earmuffs, and it was very visceral in a way that I enjoyed.
Also, like, what else did he expect to happen?
I guess that's kind of. I don't know. I don't know why he did what he did. I don't know why he ever does what he does. I suppose he's unfit for his doctorate. He's unfit to be a man of science.
And then the last number in this episode is Phyllis Diller accompanying the Muppet Orchestra by playing the saxophone. They're playing the song The Entertainer that you mentioned in your little recap. And she's not good at the saxophone.
No, but she's really playing it, I think.
I think so, too.
I don't know why it's endlessly entertaining to watch Muppets play instruments, and there's no reason that should be the case, but it is. And then she gets to have a little bit of she gets to help Fozzie out at the end, too, which I thought was cute, by plummeting Kermit to his death.
Yeah, something we didn't mention in this episode is that there's a trapdoor sketch thing that happens at the very beginning where Fozzie falls into a trapdoor. And at the end, Phyllis helps Fozzie get his revenge on Kermit by putting him on the trapdoor and pulling it. And then Statler and Waldorf also apparently have a trapdoor in their balcony box.
Yeah.
Where Waldorf falls through the trapdoor.
Yeah. Those are all good. This is like the second episode where Fozzie has been taken under the wing of a more famous comedian, and I think those are very cute.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good concept for an episode.
I also like the idea of them doing the trapdoor stuff and obviously them just like falling further down towards the floor. Just like kneeling down.
Or just like putting their arm down.
Yeah. Like, whoa.
Yeah.
Next, on February 21st, we had the Ethel Merman episode of The Muppet Show. She will also appear in the 1978 special, A Special Sesame Street Christmas, and she will also be in the Muppets Go Hollywood. Again, we don't really know why because we don't remember anything about that.
Yeah.
You might know her from the things we talked about previously from Broadway and stuff, but she also plays Lola Lasagna on Batman, the TV show.
Okay. Sound like a bad guy of the week, probably?
Yeah.
Okay.
Partners up with the Penguin at some point.
And
then just as a little fun fact I found about Ethel Merman while looking her up. While rehearsing a guest appearance on the Loretta Young show, Merman exclaimed, "Where the hell does this go?" Young, who was a devout Catholic, advanced towards her waving an empty coffee can, saying, "Come on, Ethel, you know my rules. That'll cost you $1. To which Merman replied, "Tell me, Loretta, how much will it cost me to tell you to go fuck yourself?"
Yes, she's got cool old lady energy. I can get that from her in this one, too.
Yeah, you do not mess with Ethel Merman.
No, she's like always sitting down, too. It's just like, she knows. She's old and she's really owning it.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear what you thought of this episode because I don't have like any notes on this episode. I just like watched it, enjoyed it, and then it kind of washed over me in a way where I'm like, that was all right.
Let me see where I put this one on my favorite list because I didn't mention this, but John Williams, not John Williams. Who's the little man who does the music?
Paul.
Is he related?
I don't think
John
so.
Williams. Okay. But Paul Williams was dethroned as my favorite episode in this batch
but not by Ethel Merman.
No, we haven't talked about it yet.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, we haven't talked about it yet. But he also was knocked down by Phyllis Diller, who an episode I liked better than his. Ethel Merman is right behind him now. So this was one of my favorite episodes.
This is top 4 Muppets.
Top 4 Muppets for sure. This was another one where they took really good advantage of Ethel by pairing her up with Miss Piggy, who's like prima donna kind of thing, really worked well with somebody else who can like sing and is funny. And I thought Java was really good. I loved the medley that they sang at the beginning, especially because they sing Friendship, which made me so sad because I wish Rolf had been singing Friendship with her because then I probably would have cried because that was like the signature song of Jimmy, Dean, and Rolf. Friendship is the perfect twinship. That one. Then the Shadow Puppet thing was good. The Irving Bazaar subplot was really good. It's horrifying that Fozzie doesn't make any money. What happens to all the money they collect at the door?
Well, it also makes me think that nobody makes any money and like Kermit's just like grifting everyone.
Yeah, Kermit's just stealing the whole take for every episode, for every show. Or it's a free show. Who knows? But
or they have to like just pay obviously the money that they're behind on paying to rent the theater.
that's
so maybe they're
true.
just like breaking even every time. There's this like small troupe putting on
That
the
could be.
show.
That makes sense, I suppose. They always have a full house, though. They got to just increase their ticket prices a little
But it's the
bit.
same people every week.
Yeah. So maybe they have like annual passes or something.
Or it's just their friends who are like, fine, I'll come to your freaking show again.
I thought this was a very good episode, but also I don't have a ton of notes on it. This one, the guest puppeteer thing, which we've already talked about, is like should have been in more episodes if it's not, because that is a really good way to like, it's like for like exposing the world to puppetry in a way that I feel like he always really has been trying to do up until recently. So
I really hope
pops
that
up again.
continues.
Yeah.
It just felt like a very natural thing to like fit into the Muppet Show, and I'm sure some people probably found it a little weird that this is not a Muppet thing happening right now.
Yeah.
But if you watched all the Jim Henson stuff we've watched, this feels completely natural for him to suddenly be like, let's look at this other type of puppetry.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it feels like what he would have wanted the show to be from the beginning. Really, all of the backstage plot, like cutaways, hit for me. Like when Miss Piggy punches him is very funny, and just like the math joke at the end that 10% or 10 times nothing is still nothing. This one did have the scary thing for me. Second episode in a row with the scary thing, that Miss Mousy UK spot where she pops out teeny tiny of that teacup,
Yeah.
sings a song, freaked
didn't
me
like
out
that?
for some. It scared me for some reason.
Interesting. So there's a
It's
UK
just
spot in
me.
this episode where Statler and Waldorf are talking about having tea, and their little teacup is sitting there in front of them, and a little tiny little mouse puppet pops out of the teacup. And apparently Sam didn't like that.
Well, first of all, we've seen this mouse be normal sized other times.
Yes, in the Valentine show, this is the mouse that Kermit was trying to court when Froggy went a-courtin'.
Yeah, this is Miss Mousy. This one I think it was the song being so like vivacious in a weird way that's kind of what threw me off. Maybe tiny things freak me out. I don't know. Something about this one triggered my fear response.
Interesting.
But overall, I thought this was one of the best episodes.
I think this was a great episode, and I think Ethel Merman is one of those people that maybe you wouldn't expect to naturally work with the Muppets as well as she does, because she is like mostly a Broadway star, and it's like, okay, is she naturally funny? Is she like, I didn't know much about her going into this, so I didn't really know how this was going to click. But yeah, no, I think it makes sense that this made your top 4. There's also, interestingly, some photos on Muppet Wiki of Ethel Merman dancing with Timmy Monster.
Oh.
That is not in this episode. So I'm not sure when that happened or if it was just something that was like cut for time.
Oh, you know what? Something else I noticed, that after the guest puppeteer bit, Kermit watches a fish jump out from the front of the house. Like there had been a skit with a fish, and he specifically watches it blump, 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 jump, like sploosh past him. So I don't know, that it always seems like there's some weird editing things going on with these episodes. Like there's a bunch of stuff that was cut, or they rearranged stuff in different episodes or something like that.
All right, Sam, we kind of spoiled the reveal here, but your new all-time favorite.
My new number 1 episode. I would never have guessed in a million years that the second episode, because the early episodes have been so bad, but this one is my new number 1 favorite, Connie Stevens. I love this episode.
And we talked about in our Saturday Night Live episode that they were on hiatus from Saturday Night Live for a little bit, and they went and filmed 2 episodes in London, which was the Juliet Prowse and the Connie Stevens episodes, as sort of pilots for the Muppet Show to make sure that they could even make this idea work. And Connie Stevens had previously worked with Kermit and Rolf on the This Is Tom Jones special in 1971 that we can't track down, unfortunately. And the interesting note that the unaired pilot episodes, the very first versions of these first 2 episodes, featured a longer version of the theme song. The earliest version had different shots of the chorus girls and boys, and an additional verse sung by a kick line of Monsters and Creatures.
What?
And TR was there, and he would introduce Kermit.
What the hell?
Yeah.
And we don't get to see that?
No.
Oh.
But yeah, this one starts off right away. You get the introduction of Connie Stevens, but also Kermit is saying, here's our special guest, Connie Stevens, and from Sesame Street, Ernie and Bert, which was surprising. I didn't realize they were popping up in this episode. Even though this is one of the episodes I have seen the most, because on the Muppet Show Season 1 DVD, they are presented in production order. So the Juliet Prowse episode and the Connie Stevens episode, anytime I would put on my DVDs and just like hit play all, it was sort of like when you listen to an album and like the first 5 tracks you listen to a lot, and then the last 5 tracks you're like, I don't really get there that often. That's how the Muppet Show DVD was kind of for me for a long time, was I would just like watch the first few episodes over and over and over and never really make it to the 3rd or 4th disc.
Well, if I was them and I made this pilot, I'd feel pretty damn good about that. And if I watched this pilot, I would definitely buy this show because it's great.
Yeah, no, this is an all-around just great episode. We had been texting about how this was your new favorite, and so I actually went and rewatched it because I was like, I liked it, but I didn't like it that much. And then rewatching it, I was like, oh, no, I totally see why this is like one of the best episodes we've watched so far. It also features one of my favorite Muppet Show things of all time, which is the Lydia, the Tattooed Lady sketch.
Yeah.
Where a tattooed pig named Lydia comes out while Kermit sings the Groucho Marx original, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Lydia, the Tattooed Lady, which is a slightly sexual song.
Yeah.
About a,
in a fun
tattooed
way.
lady. Yes. And everything about this. I love Kermit's performance. I love the tattooed pig puppet.
They actually draw all the little things that are described in the song, and that puppet the pig puppet has such a lust for life. I think it's funny that she has glasses on. I don't know why I think that's so funny, but it also terrifies me that she has hooves instead of hands. And then I was like, oh, what would Miss Piggy think about her having hooves? And then you see Miss Piggy right afterwards with regular hands. It's good to see Kermit performing, which he doesn't really get to do that much. And it must be Frank Oz performing that pig puppet, I would imagine, because he looks like he's being naughty.
Yeah, the puppeteering is so good that I just kind of assumed it was Frank Oz.
And then the other thing about this one is it has probably the most coherent backstage plot we've seen, or like at least one of the most coherent backstage plots we've seen. It surprised me for an early episode because it didn't seem like they had hit that point yet.
Yeah, it's a classic sitcom misunderstanding that you mentioned earlier where Gonzo is talking about his old moldy teddy bear and everyone's talking about how much they dislike it. And Fozzie keeps overhearing the worst parts of what everyone is saying and just assumes that everyone hates him. And so by the end, he's trying to quit before they finally tell him, no, dummy, we're talking about a teddy bear.
Which is kind of weird because that's a lot of strong language for a teddy bear. They really hate that teddy bear.
They really, I mean, maybe it smells bad. They said it's moldy.
Yeah, that's true.
And also, like, if your friend just kept coming up to you, bothering you, asking you questions about their
teddy bear,
be like, fine, yeah, sure, whatever. Yeah. Like, that's kind of, I think Scooter is sort of what my attitude would be, where it's like, I think it's a fine teddy bear. And he's like, but what if we replace the bear? And he's like, oh, that's probably a good idea.
Scooter's also been very responsible. He's very responsible in this batch. There's like times when he's like, oh yeah, everything's ready, boss. And Kermit even says, oh, that kid's doing a great job, which made me happy for Scooter.
Which again is funny that like this episode was produced so early on before the episode that introduces Scooter.
I'm going to fix it in the Sam cut. Don't worry about it.
So you just need to maybe like to even like take this even further and cut together episodes into like a movie length thing.
That's exactly what I was just thinking too.
Okay.
I need to actually remaster them on an episode by episode basis. All right. I'm doing it.
All right. Have fun. I'm not going to be involved at all.
Okay.
We get a good Swedish Chef bit in this where his meatballs turn very springy and bouncy, which on its own is pretty good. But then he pulls out a tennis racket and starts hitting them. And again, the last thing that seals it for me, that makes it even better, is Statler also has a tennis racket and hits it back.
I love that. I like when they get to have fun with their friends on stage.
It was one of those episodes where everyone feels like they're working together to make the best show.
Totally.
And nothing is like at odds.
Yeah, there's a big moment where that happens later on too, but we can get to that when we get to it.
For now, we got to talk about Kermit being super into Connie Stevens.
He really is.
This is the most flirtatious Kermit we have seen so far.
Totally, yeah. Which he saves, I think, for people he actually knows, which is like, it's funny that Kermit has like a different memory almost than Jim, but it does seem like he retains relationships with people as well, as like a normal human being would.
Well, and I think that's also that thing of, because Connie Stevens and Jim Henson are around the same age.
Yes.
I am sure Jim Henson had a huge crush on like teenage pop star Connie Stevens back in the 50s.
And they were like in the entertainment industry like for like the same period of time, which I think is so interesting. So they probably have run into each other a bunch of times.
Yeah. And so I think it's a little bit of that. Like you can see like Jim's high school crushes starting to come out in some of these. Which again, I don't mind, but it's just it's sometimes a bit weird that like you kind of have to, if you don't have that knowledge, You're just like, wow, Kermit's super horny for Connie Stevens.
Yeah. And it is maybe a little bit whack that he can channel so much of his horniness into Kermit and be kind of like get away scot-free with it. But this whole intro is like the best guest intro we've seen, where she's like, I just love episodes where there's backstage stuff that sets up front stage stuff, and like her coming out of her dressing room and overhearing Wayne and Wanda talking about how much they hate her, and then like getting one over on them all the way down to her like walking down the stairs and talking to Kermit. It's just like so in depth.
Well, then it continues on to where they're talking about her upcoming performance where she's going to sing Teenager in Love with the mutations. And they introduce the mutations backstage. And this was one where before rewatching it, I kind of forgot the context of when they're introducing this song as like a thing she used to love, she used to listen to back in high school. Mm-hmm. Because at this point, I was like, are they treating Connie Stevens as like way younger than she actually is?
Yeah.
Because this, like, she's 38 when they filmed this episode.
Right.
And like the way they were treating her was like she was like 22 or something like that. Like just like a weird, like the disparity of like actual age versus age they were acting like she was seemed a little weird to me. But then as I sort of watched the moment between Kermit and her, and they were both sort of like reminiscing about the 50s, it sort of like, oh, I understand. This is supposed to be like a throwback nostalgic number. I get it now.
Right.
The talk spot in this episode, Connie Stevens starts singing to Kermit the Close to You, the Why Do Birds Suddenly Appear, that song. When a jealous Fozzie joins in, and I think this one it's a good talk spot, it's funny, but I think it's interesting that this was clearly one of the earliest things filmed because you have two things that are off about Fozzie.
Okay, wait, I know one. It's that his eyes are extremely too small and terrifying.
His pupils are much tinier.
Whatever the opposite of a concussion is what he's got.
And then his voice is also deeper and weirder, like it will be in the Juliet Prowse episode when he claims to be doing a John Wayne impression.
Right.
Which is how they like wrote their way out of that joke, or wrote their way out of his voice being different. But when he's singing, it does not sound like Fozzie sings any other time we ever hear Fozzie singing.
Oh, that didn't even occur to me.
And then we get a little bit more Nigel than we typically get here on The Muppet Show. We get him talking to Zoot and introducing the Sax and Violence sketch.
Is that what it's called?
It's apparently called Sax and Violence.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, this is a nice little nod.
And then it's like one of those like Yellow Rose of Texas style. You're accompanied by someone who can't keep it together. Mana comes out, rings the bell too aggressively. Well,
he also starts to punch Zoot in the face at a certain
he's
point.
Also being really mean, and then Zoot shoots him with his saxophone. But it's like weird to see Zoot doing stuff, but I really liked it. Then this next part is a part where it's like the front stage, backstage melding that I think I really, really liked, where Gonzo's on stage doing his tomato plant thing, but you can see all the Muppets backstage watching him. I thought that was really effective.
Yeah, it's an interesting one where it's not about what's happening on stage. It's more about like the fact that it's about the fact that it is happening on stage, but the sketch itself is not about what is on stage, because we don't actually get to see why it really fails. We don't get to see what the audience's reaction is. We just see him immediately having to leave the stage.
And it's a really good intro to Gonzo that comes way too late in the order that they played these episodes. Like, you have no idea who Gonzo is, that this is the first time you're watching it until like now, basically, or not as good an idea at least.
And then we get the famous Ernie and Bert popping up, in what I think is just an all around great sketch, because they don't know why they're there. Bert is very concerned about being on this like primetime adult show. He's not sure what they're gonna do, and it has a very good dynamic where Ernie is like thinking he gets one over on Bert by tricking him in a way that he did on the Dick Cavett show.
Yeah, it's the same thing, yeah.
Where he's like, no, you got to fit in, you got to dress different, you got to act different. But it actually ends up sort of working out for Bert, because he puts on a tuxedo and then ends up having a huge dance number with Connie Stevens.
Yeah, and he's really cool.
Yeah. Even though they kind of allude to at the end that he made a fool of himself. I don't think he did.
I think he would watch that and be horrified. So I think Ernie is reacting to the fact that he knows Bert would not like what he has just done. But I don't think so either.
No.
I thought that part was great. And I loved seeing them. And they kind of have a dynamic that nobody else on the Muppet Show has a little bit. Like their odd couple thing.
It is funny to cut straight from like Kermit and Fozzie to Bert and Ernie and just being like, that's the same voices pretty much.
Oh well. I'll allow it.
And then, yeah, at the end, we get something that doesn't happen often, but they make it sound like it will.
Yeah.
Connie Stevens is presented with a Muppet likeness of herself,
Uh-huh.
which I think raises a lot of existential questions.
Yep.
Because,
like, what are you going to do with this thing? Does it have to come live in your house?
well, it also makes it clear that the Muppets can create Muppets.
That also.
Like, they created a Muppet that looks like a human guest that now is going to be existing in this world and is imbued with the soul of the famous person.
But not imbued with the soul enough that she can sing or do anything that Connie Stevens can actually do.
No.
It's a little too weird. But apparently they gave a lot of people Muppets of themselves after they were on the show. They just didn't show that part anymore.
Right. We get that in the first two they filmed, which is Juliet Prowse and Connie Stevens.
Mm-hmm.
And they at least did it for Paul Williams and Marty Feldman. But we don't have to see those. I mean, we saw the Paul Williams puppet, but we didn't see them presenting it to him as a separate being.
Yeah, and that's not as good as the regular ending where all of them get to come out for one last cute little thing. But it is very creepy.
And this was one where at the end she gets dragged away by Gonzo's tomato plant.
Yeah.
And I was like, this would have been the perfect ending for the Valerie Harper episode.
Yeah, right?
Where the vines were taking over.
They didn't even allude to the tomato plant being like evil or anything like that. It just kind of comes out of nowhere, and Kermit has to say, "Oh, that was the tomato plant from earlier, remember?"
Yeah, you guys try to explain this joke that is not a good joke.
No.
But that was it, Sam. We watched 5 more episodes of The Muppet Show. We did it. We made it.
This one had a rough start, but in the end, some of my favorite ones ever.
Yeah, I think this is a very, very solid batch, and I have a hard time ranking them or calling anything my favorites, but this is definitely none of them made me too bored or too angry. So good job.
Twiggy went to the second to last spot in mine, though.
I
it really makes me wonder what the hell happened with Ruth Buzzy. I would love to know why that one was so bad.
Yeah. I think that Dairy Maid sketch really brought down the Twiggy episode a lot. Between the Dairy Maid and her in memoriam thing.
Yeah. Kind of a rough couple.
Yeah. But now it's time to talk about our Muppet of the Week. This week's Muppet of the Week is... I wanted to call him Sir Uncle Deadly, even though...
he could be.
He easily could be.
Yeah.
Uncle Deadly, the blue gargoyle dragon-like creature, the Phantom of the Muppet Show that we see in this batch. He made his debut in the Vincent Price episode that we talked about, even though it seems like the Twiggy episode should have been his debut.
Yeah.
The backstory we get on Uncle Deadly in this batch is pretty much that he's a former actor who supposedly acted in the very theater where the Muppets put on their show. And he was at least Hamlet, and then tried to be Othello, and then was possibly murdered. Uncle Deadly was performed by Jerry Nelson back during the Muppet Show days in 1976 through 1979. And he pops up sort of sporadically on the Muppet Show from here on out. And then he's also in the final scene of the Muppet movie and the wedding scene of Muppets Take Manhattan, as most Muppets that existed were. And then he also has some non-speaking roles in the Muppets 30 Years celebration, and he's actually in the Muppets at Walt Disney World as well. But he would not be used again until 2011, when he would pop up in the Muppets Jason Segel movie thing, where he was then performed by, any guesses, Sam?
Oh, I can't remember anybody's name good, but the same guy who does all of them.
Yep, Matt Vogel.
Yeah.
Matt Vogel took over in 2011, has been playing Uncle Deadly until presently. And this is sort of when Deadly was revitalized. He plays a henchman to Tex Richman in the Muppets 2011 movie. And he teamed up with Bobo, and I think he just sort of like made his way into people's hearts at this point. And then I think the 2015 ABC series really sealed that.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people talk about how they don't really like that series, but I've also heard those same people say that if they liked anything from that series, it is the growth of Uncle Deadly.
Yeah.
On that show, he plays Miss Piggy's assistant / wardrobe person and gets a lot of really good moments with Miss Piggy specifically, including at one point he directs a stage adaptation of Clueless, where he plays Cher in the performance, and all of his Muppet friends come out to watch him. It's very sweet. And he has continued to be this sort of assistant wardrobe person role in subsequent projects like Muppets Now. Some fun things about Uncle Deadly. There's not a ton to say, but he's had some almost fame. One of the projects that Kirk Thatcher, who has worked with the Muppets across many projects, wanted to do at one point, or at least had in development, was a Goosebumps-type TV show called Uncle Deadly's House of Badness.
Hell yeah.
And this project never got off the ground, and it's not known apparently if they ever filmed anything or even wrote a script for it. But Kirk Thatcher wanted to do that at some point, and I wish he had. But Kirk Thatcher is now the man who is doing Muppet Haunted Mansion, so at least he's still getting to work in the spooky
Maybe he's
Muppet
using
realm.
some of his ideas for this or for that
Yeah.
or something like that.
And according to Jerry Nelson, Uncle Deadly was his tribute to actor John Carradine, who I don't know, but he's in old spooky movies like Vincent Price. In the Muppets Junior novelization, which is, again, the novelization of that 2011 movie, Uncle Deadly is described as a dragon, like just outright a dragon, which he does have a cool big tail that we don't really get to see that often, but he does have it. And last little fun fact about Uncle Deadly, according to his name badge worn during his appearance at the D23 Expo, Uncle Deadly is from Boreham Wood, England. Boreham Wood? I don't know how to say English town names very well.
Yeah, that's okay.
But that's where Elstree Studios was, which is where The Muppet Show was taped. So it sort of builds on that Phantom of the Muppet Show lore.
Yeah.
But I'm a big Uncle Deadly fan. He can be in everything, and I'm happy.
Yeah, I love that guy, especially like his newer characterization as the kind of like bumbling, very earnest personal assistant.
Yeah, like there's so much on the Muppets ABC show of characters sort of sticking with the same kind of character they've had since the mid-'70s with like Fozzie and Kermit and even Sam and Miss Piggy, like kind of being just like modernized versions of the same characters they've been playing for 40, 50 years. But Uncle Deadly was just like turned into a completely new character essentially in a way that I think keeps that character alive in a way that it probably like that character could have easily disappeared into the background of Forgotten Muppets.
Mm-hmm. And it gives Miss Piggy somebody to talk to, which she needs because nobody's really very nice to her.
Yes, and
Nobody takes her seriously.
It also gives her somebody who will be straightforward and honest with her.
Yeah.
And is like secretly her best friend, even though she doesn't want to acknowledge it.
He's a big sweetie. And it does give me nice feelings to see him pop up in these old episodes, even though I know that that's not what he'll do. But that endears me to him deeply. And his name's hilarious. I don't know why his name's Uncle Deadly, but I really wish that show had become a thing because that probably would have not lasted very long, but it would have been very fun. I'm
excited to see him probably in the Muppet Haunted Mansion thing. I have to assume he will be there.
He seems like he looks just like the ghost host, like from the concept art of the old Haunted Mansion. So
well, and they did a thing earlier this year where he was like introducing these videos of the Haunted Mansion on the Disney Parks YouTube channel, and it makes me hopeful for his involvement with that special.
Yeah. Did you? And this is the dorkiest question I've ever asked anybody. Did you see the leaked eclairs with Haunted Mansion art on them?
Yes, I did. Of course,
those
I
are
did.
cool. Those are cool. It's a stretching portraits, Muppetized, and you can buy them at Disney World now. Apparently.
Yeah, you can go to Pizza Rizzo, the restaurant where usually you'd want to avoid because the pizza's not good. But they have these special Haunted Mansion eclairs with Muppets, like Crazy Harry is the guy on the dynamite, obviously.
Yeah.
Stretching portraits in the Haunted Mansion.
Anyway, God bless Uncle Deadly. I give him 4 out of 5 stars.
Let's see. Out of my 60, I'm going to give him a solid, I like him a lot, 56.
Wow, you do like him a lot.
I do like him a lot.
Congratulations, Uncle Deadly.
All right, Sam, so besides these Muppet Show episodes, did you have time to watch any non-Muppet things this week?
I watched a bunch of trash that I hated. Like,
good job.
I watched that Cruella movie.
Oh.
That was a big piece of crap, I thought. Did you see that?
I haven't watched it yet.
It doesn't make any sense, and it turns her into a good guy. At the end of the movie, spoiler alert, she owns like 8 dogs. It's insane. She's not mean to a single dog in the whole thing.
That's the only thing anyone ever knows about Cruella de Vil is that she's mean to dogs.
Is established at the very beginning of the movie that she loves dogs, and it's downhill from there.
Well, they're making a sequel, so...
Yeah, maybe
we'll
she'll
see.
hate dogs. Well, I mean, okay, another spoiler alert for the very beginning of the movie. Dalmatians kill her mother, and she adopts the literal same Dalmatians that killed her mother. So
it almost seems like they set that moment up to be like, this is why she hates Dalmatians.
yeah, and then they don't pay it off at all. And there's a part where they're like, did you make she's wearing like a Dalmatian coat. And they're like, did you make Dalmatians into a coat? Did you kill my dogs? And she's like, no, I didn't really. but I'll let people believe I did. So it's
bizarre.
Yeah. And then we're watching this Hulu show called 9 Perfect Strangers, which is we watched because we really like Big Little Lies, at least the first season of Big Little Lies, and it's by the same author and some of the same creative people. It's literally the worst show I've ever seen in my entire life. I've never hated a show as much as I hate this show. It's so boring, especially because at the beginning it almost feels like there's going to be aliens in it or that people are going to be murdered horribly. And then by the end of the episode, it's very clear that it's not, that it's just about people at a spa, and it's so boring. But if there had been aliens in it, it would have been a great show. So don't watch either of those things. How about you?
Yeah, I watched a few things this week. I was watching a show that is not aimed at me at all. It is aimed very much at like teenage girls, but is Diary of a Future President on Disney Plus. I don't know. It's a very well written show, and it's a very well performed, and yeah, it's a good show. But I also know that I am not the audience, so there's humor in there that I'm like, yeah, it's all right. But it is one of those shows that I think is made for like parents can watch with their kids, and they can all learn from like the parents will see how the parents on the show learn to interact with their kids, and they're like, shit, I should probably do a better job. Right. So I think it is like one of those that has something for everybody, but is clearly made for like 12, 13-year-old
kids. It has
kids.
something, it has less for you literally than anyone else though.
Yeah.
Like
no, not a parent, not a teenage girl. But yes, it handles a lot of very good like social issues in a very like it handles them in a very good way.
Cool.
I also watched Guardians of the Galaxy 2 because that's where we're at in our Marvel rewatch thing.
Yeah.
And I forgot how much I did like that movie.
You did like it. That's one of my least favorite ones.
It has a lot more heart and feels like it matters more than the first one.
That's true.
And it just felt more substantial than the first one, which I could feel like I could never watch again and be absolutely happy to never watch the first Guardians ever again.
Both of those movies have one really standout scene, and the first one is the very first scene where he's doing the Hooked on a Feeling, or not Hooked on a Feeling, Come and Get Your Love walk.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that in theaters and being like blown away. And then in the second one, that scene where Gamora and Nebula fight, I think is so cool when she tries to smash the spaceship into her. It's like one of the best fight scenes, I think, in any Marvel thing.
Next week, we'll be doing our weird little birthday bonus episode where we'll be talking about What About Bob and Puppet Master 3, Somebody's Revenge.
Yeah, I don't remember whose revenge either.
Somebody's Revenge.
Puppet Master 3.
Yeah. So obviously that'll be a weird one. We'll be answering some questions that you guys have tweeted and emailed us and talking about those two very non-Muppet movies. And then, before we go, we need to thank our friend Tuna for creating the music for this podcast and Cassie Wilson for singing our theme song. And you can follow this podcast on Twitter at CommitmentPod, where you can find the playlist and all the links to things we'll be watching for future episodes. Or we'll just tell you, hey, it's on Peacock. Go check it out. And you can also email us at mail@commitment.com if you have any Muppet memories you'd like to share, or just, helpful tips about past episodes and things we missed, because it is nice to receive emails, even though we may not respond to all of them, where people are pointing out things that we've
screwed up.
Yeah. And you can follow me on the social media places at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm at Slam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.